Hello, my name is Luis Antonio Pichardo, and I'm the founder and executive director of Distill Arts, a nonprofit arts mentorship organization that inspires, teaches, and hires emerging artists from underserved communities. This particular series, the Comics Que Curan series, was a series that we had previously done for Latino youth, specifically in South Central, over the course of several months in the fall of 2019. And it culminated with the release of an anthology called Comics Que Curan Volume 1. When we released that particular anthology, we knew we were going to do a second series, and lo and behold, here we are. As you saw in the first part of this short video, mental health is something that really does resonate, I think, within the larger community. And given the circumstances right now with the coronavirus pandemic and all of the issues that people are having to now face in being at home all the time, and for the people that are actually out there still working and having to deal with the worry of possibly being exposed to this virus, mental health is playing a very large role in really just how we get along in the day-to-day. The prevalence of mental illness is something that is, I think, kind of underplayed always. And this particular workshop series hopes to actually normalize it a little bit. The fact is that all of us, every single person in this world, we will at some point in our life have to deal with some form of mental illness. And the fact is that we're never really truly alone. As you saw, 1 in 5 US adults actually experiences mental illness in a given year. And 1 in 25 US adults experiences a serious mental illness. Serious mental illness can be defined as something like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and a whole host of other issues that basically affect a person's ability to function in an everyday capacity. Mental illness is something that is actually experienced at any age. And I think for me, the most astonishing thing is that 17% of youth experience a mental illness or mental health disorder. And the fact that mental illness is something that actually happens, lifetime mental illness is something that happens 50% of the time before the age of 14, that says a lot. And with 75% of all lifetime mental illness happening before the age of 24, that means that most of us actually have experienced it at some point already in our life. It's not something that we've maybe known about, but it is something that has happened. And we could probably all point to some point in our teenage years where, we really truly experienced the trauma of that mental illness. To add in some other statistics that weren't in the first part of this video, I'd also like to call attention to the fact that the largest percentage of individuals who are diagnosed with some form of mental illness in a given year actually is attributed to people who are either lesbian, gay, or bisexual. 37% of individuals who identify that way are diagnosed with mental illness. That is the highest percentage of a group in our society today that is diagnosed. Now imagine, that means that there's that many more people that go undiagnosed. The same goes with the next second highest group is people who report being mixed or multiracial. They're 27% of the individuals in the US, that actually are diagnosed with mental illness. The lowest number of individuals that are diagnosed are Asian adults. It's only 15%, with Black adults being 16% of individuals who are actually diagnosed, and Latinos and Hispanic or Latino adults, it's only 17%. So that says a lot about the fact that communities of color, particularly Black, Brown, and Asian communities, are communities that rarely are diagnosed, if ever. 1 in 5 people, actually less than 1 in 5 people who identify that way are diagnosed with mental health issue, mental health disorder. And that's kind of a problem, especially when you consider the fact that mental health issues are things that can attribute to people having higher cases of things like cancer, diabetes, and other chronic illnesses. All of those things say something about the fact that, at least I think, to the fact that we don't really properly seek treatment for things. I know I personally am that way. I haven't seen a doctor in a long time, and it's probably not good for me. As a matter of fact, I know it's not good for me. But in order for us to sort of normalize the fact that mental illness is actually that prevalent in our community, that is the actual purpose of this workshop series. It's to get people to have conversations surrounding mental illness, the importance of our mental health, and also to break down stigma. Stigma is going to be one of those things that we hope you all address in your particular stories that you share with us through this series. We'll be teaching how to draw, how to write, how to ink, and how to color your own stories, your own comics. And between 2 to 4 pages long is going to be, I think, just enough space for you to be able to tell a full story about how people can really properly diagnose or support an individual with mental illness. We want to have conversations about it. We want to be able to publish something that is going to help people see that they truly are not alone, that they are ultimately part of this larger community of people that have suffered mental illness. To give you some sense of the types of mental illnesses that are most commonly diagnosed, 19% of diagnoses are for anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorders that are related to social anxiety, some form of repetitive behaviors. Sometimes it's considered things like OCD. Those are the most common types of disorders that are actually diagnosed. 19% of all cases that are diagnosed in a given year for adults is with anxiety disorders. The second highest after that is depression. Most people are pretty familiar with that one. And those are the 2 top diagnoses. There's a lot of other types of things that are diagnosed throughout the year, but a lot of times those are the main ones that we all suffer. And as a person that has had depression before, I can say that it's one of those things that we all will experience at some point. And it's okay. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel down and to, have thoughts that maybe some people might consider to be negative thoughts. It's just part of being human. And again, the stigma that sometimes it goes with it, like, oh, you're just hazte fuerte, as we would say a lot of times in the Latino community, just be strong. Sometimes it's not as easy as that. Sometimes it's not as easy as, taking a few drinks and then going on about your day and being okay with how your life is. Never works that way. And so substance abuse and mental health, a lot of times they go hand in hand. And those are the things that might come up in your stories that you create. And so myself, Javier, and Abraham, we're going to help you in trying to develop those stories. And we want you to really think about, what are the positive things that you can teach our community about being open to listening and to being aware of what are the mental health issues that affect us all. So over the next few weeks, you'll be getting some regular updates, some additional coaching and how to set up your comic, and the dimensions of the final comic that you'll be turning in. And if you've ever find yourself needing to have a conversation with any of us about your personal mental health issues, please feel free to email us through Google Classroom, or you can email me directly, and I'd be more than happy to share some resources with you. If you're in the LA County area, the LA Department of Mental Health is available for you as a potential resource. And if you're in another part of the country or in another part of the state, your local public health, mental health department will probably also have resources available to you. At the end of this video, I'll be sharing the the national hotlines for mental health as well. So please take advantage of those if you do find yourself ever in distress. And again, remember, you're not alone. We're in this together. And really, I'm just asking you to help us break down stigma, because stigma, as you'll see right now in what former President Bill Clinton says, it's one of those things that really should shame us all. We should never stigmatize someone that is experiencing mental health illness. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing your comics in the coming weeks.